The 20th Anniversary Macintosh was a limited edition personal computer released in 1997 to mark Apple's 20th birthday. The machine was a technological showcase of the day, boasting a number of features beyond simple computing, and with a price tag aimed at the executive market. History: April 1, 1996 marked 20 years since the day that Steve Jobs, Steve Wozniak, and Ronald Wayne came together to form Apple Computer. As this milestone arrived and came to the attention of Apple's then current executives, the decision was made to release a limited edition Macintosh computer to celebrate, and so the Spartacus project was born. The normal time span to develop a new Macintosh computer was 18+ months, however they were already late to the party. Luckily the design team had already been working on several dream concepts, and soon settled on the most feasible of those, the all-in-one LCD-based design. To cut down on development time, many off-the-shelf components were used on the new computer's internals. The TAM was announced almost 20 years to the day after Jobs and Wozniak incorporated the company, in January 1997 at Macworld Expo, San Francisco. It was given a release date of March 20, 1997, with a retail price of $7,499. Originally intended as a mainstream product, the marketing group turned it into a pricey special edition. Specifications and design: the TAM was to break the established form factor of the personal computer. One of the first projects of Jonathan Joni Ive, the design of the TAM was both a state-of-the-art futuristic vision of where computing could go whilst redeveloping Apple's original objective to create a device that would integrate into people's lives. The TAM featured a 250 MHz PowerPC 603E processor and 12.1 inches active matrix LCD powered by an ATI 3D Rage 2 video chipset with 2 MB of VRAM capable of displaying up to 16-bit color at either 800x600 or 640x480 pixels. It had a vertically mounted 4xSCSI CD-ROM and an Apple floppy SuperDrive, a 2 GB ATA hard drive, a TV/FM tuner, an S-video input card, and a custom-made Bose sound system including 2 dual speakers and a subwoofer built into the externally located power supply base unit. A thick umbilical cable connects the base unit to the head unit, supplying both power and communications for the subwoofer. The umbilical connects via a multi-pin connector, which is a possible cause of the TAM's one major fault, the speaker buzz. Inspections of units that received a repair by Apple due to the speaker buzz found an extra resistor S had been installed in the umbilical. Ensuring the connectors are free of dust dirt has also been known to resolve the buzz, though the buzz ultimately only affected a small percentage of machines. The TAM came with a unique 75-key ADB keyboard which featured leather palm rests and a trackpad instead of a mouse. The trackpad could be detached from the keyboard if desired, with a small leather insert found underneath the keyboard ready to fill the gap. When not required, the keyboard could slide under the TAM's head unit, leaving the trackpad exposed for continued access. The TAM also came with a remote control, but also featured buttons on the front panel that could control sound levels, CD playback, brightness, contrast, and TV mode. The pre-installed operating system was a specialized version of Mac OS 7.6.1, which allowed control over those features. Expandability was offered via a 7-inch PCI slot and Apple Communication Slot 2 for the addition of Ethernet. Later G3 upgrade options offered by Sonnet and newer technologies made use of the TAM's Level 2 cache slot, which allow the computer to reach speeds of up to 500 MHz. All of these options come at the price of the TAM's slim profile. The back panel must be removed, and replaced with an hunchback cover that adds several inches to the depth of the machine. One last unique feature of the TAM greeted owners when they turned the computer on: a special startup chime used only by the TAM. This chime does not sound the same when played on other devices, possibly simply due to the design of the Bose speakers. Production release: Apple manufactured 12,000 TAMs, with a release run of 11,601. The remaining 399 were kept by Apple for use as spare parts. The TAM was only released in 5 countries: USA, Japan, France, Germany, and the UK. Both of Apple's founders, Steve Wozniak and Steve Jobs, received a TAM. When was allowed people to see into his office via webcam in the late 1990s, his TAM was visible on his desk. 10 TAMs were sent to Apple Australia. One was given away as a prize via AU Macworld magazine. Another was awarded as a prize at a gathering of Apple reseller staff. For some time one was on display in Apple's Sydney headquarters. The remainder were kept for use by Apple Australia executives. Due to the scarcity of scale, rather than training all Apple-authorized technicians in repairing the TAM, Apple opted to ship faulty units to 3 central locations worldwide, one per continent. The U.S. location was the Eastman Kodak Company's service center, Building 601, in Kodak Park in Rochester, New York. Apple's Service Source CD, containing information for authorized technicians in the repair of Apple computers, lists the TAM as a closed unit, to be returned to said repair locations for all repairs. It does not contain a take-apart guide for the TAM. Support from online forums is the best source of information for repairing a TAM now. A prototype TAM was spotted on eBay circa 2010 featuring darker colored speaker panels, and missing the Sound by Bose label. Websites: rather than a simple page on Apple's website, the TAM was given its own website, albeit only amounting to approximately 6 brief pages. This was nevertheless a departure from Apple's standard advertising practice for its other Macintosh computers of the time. Not long after the TAM's release, a community website was created by Bob Bernadara for TAM owners. The site featured news and information about the TAM, along with links to useful software and a forum for discussions. Welcome to the 20th Anniversary Macintosh website, the official home of the TAM user community. This is the place where 20th Anniversary Macintosh owners can share a wealth of information on this insanely great product. The TAM is a unique machine in the world of computers, and this site will help you get the most out of yours. The site actively ran for many years, although eventually its overseer ceased communications and eventually the site fell into disarray, and finally disappeared in 2010. There are a number of newer TAM community websites, though none with the membership that Bernadara's achieved. Limitations: based on a PowerPC 603E processor, the TAM cannot run Mac OS X natively, but with the addition of a G3 or G4 aftermarket upgrade and the use of XPOS Facto 4.0 software, the TAM could run several versions of OS X, with some limitations. Attempting to install Mac OS X otherwise can break the TAM, and is ill-advised. Discontinuation: upon unveiling, the TAM was predicted to cost $9,000, which would include a direct-to-door concierge delivery service. At release the price was reduced to $7,499. In the middle of its sales lifespan, Apple dropped the price further to around $3,500, and finally upon discontinuation in March 1998 the price was set to $1,995. Customers who paid full price for the TAM, and then complained to Apple when the price was so drastically cut, were offered a free high-end PowerBook as compensation. Steve Jobs returned to Apple in late 1997. In March 1998 he made sweeping changes, including scrapping the Newton message pad. It was at this time that the TAM was discontinued, and remaining stocks reduced to $1,995. The timing itself was not conspicuous. Most Apple computers only feature a 1-year production run, and the TAMs began in March 1997. However, Jobs was on record stating that he hated the TAM, as it stood for everything that was wrong at Apple when he returned. The attempt to move the remaining stock by further reducing the price may have been a directive from Jobs himself. Dealers in the U.S. ran out of stock within 14 days of this final price drop. Legacy: the 20th Anniversary Macintosh may not have been a well-known machine in its time, nor a big seller, but it has had a lasting legacy on personal computers. All-in-one LCD computers are now quite common, not least being Apple's own modern iMac, which clearly owes its design to the TAM. including using a vertically mounted removable drive. Even the removable trackpad has been replicated with Apple's Magic Trackpad. External power supplies were also used in later Apple computers such as the Power Mac G4 Cube and Mac Mini. Joint efforts with speaker manufacturers have become common for several Apple computers. Despite its poor sales, the TAM remains a holy grail amongst Macintosh collectors. As of 2010, complete working TAMs with boxes can sell for over $1,000. As of early 2015, on eBay, complete working TAMs usually sell with boxes and rarely fetch less than about $1,600, with most examples priced starting at around $3,200, and it's not uncommon to find them listed for nearly twice that, sometimes more still. TAM parts on eBay are rare. In popular culture, due to its unconventional design, the TAM has featured in numerous films and television series, including Seinfeld, several episodes of the 9th season of Seinfeld in Jerry's apartment. Friends, behind Chandler's office desk in the 4th season of Friends in the episode The One with the Worst Best Man Ever. The Real World, the housemates on MTV's The Real World, Seattle. Serial Experiments Lane, the appearance of the NAVI computer scene in Serial Experiments Lane was greatly influenced by TAM. Sabrina, a prototype TAM on the desk of Linus Larrabee in the 1995 remake of the movie Sabrina. The TAM prototype sits on the far right side of Linus, on a dedicated side desk. The CD player has a see-through port in the middle of the door that allows for the CD to be inserted and removed. This see-through feature was removed in the production version that has a solid dark gray plastic door. The actual unit that Linus had on his desk was Apple's in-house development model that Apple lent to the studio. Batman and Robin, used by Alfred to write a CD in Batman and Robin. Children of Men, in Jasper's hideout, in the film Children of Men, to show the video feeds of intruders breaking in as a TAM. In this movie it would be 30 years old. References. External links, Apple TAM detailed tech spec page, Apple TAM tech spec page, Enthusiast website, forums, pictures and videos.